Okay, this is very interesting because it seems like Ubisoft is not done with Assassin's Creed Odyssey yet, or at least is making something similar to Odyssey, because they're looking for playtesters for a very special project. You played Assassin's Creed Odyssey? Good, we need you. Just sign up here to participate and this will then lead you to a website. I did of course click on the link and see what the website asked, so I will be going over that. Plus, I of course want to talk about what I think this means. I personally think there are 4 possibilities, while one is the most likely in my opinion, so let's dive in. We'll of course also answer one of your questions at the end of the video. If you enjoy these big Sunday videos, then don't leave a like to show your support. And let's go. Out of nowhere, we see Ubisoft enable 60 frames per second for Assassin's Creed Odyssey via an update on PS5 and the Xbox Series consoles. And this was August 24th. And I'm really happy that they did this because the game feels completely different with the higher frame rate. And the gameplay you will see in this video is all recorded on PS5 with that new patch. And they also, just before that, opened the photo mode website again for Origins and Odyssey, so now you can view the photos you made in game again and easily share them. And now we got them asking for these playtesters who played Odyssey, with people sharing their Odyssey playtime. We got 403 here for Hana Assassin, with Quebec replying that we encourage you to sign up regardless of where you are, and they then later note that they are currently holding a hybrid playtest, meaning that there will be some remote playtest sessions, while the other playtests are of course at the studio. And sure, if you're watching this and want to help out, then I will leave a link in the video description so you can click that to apply, but that is totally not the point of this video. It's more to speculate what this special project they're working on might be, because it has something to do with Assassin's Creed Odyssey, otherwise they would not need people who played Odyssey. Like, they're not mentioning their previous project, Immortals Phoenix Rising, that launched of course in December 2020, while they immediately made that after finishing Odyssey. So yeah, it doesn't seem to be Immortals related at all. One of the possibilities is that this might be for the crossover between Valhalla and Odyssey that is coming to Valhalla at some point, maybe even still this year. There are some heavy rumors about this. I don't want to spoil too much, but it seems quite substantial and taking place on the island of Skye in Scotland, which, looking at some real world images, totally looks like a Valhalla area we can explore. I also asked a French YouTuber Jonathan about this, and he pointed out that we also see both Eivor and Cassandra in the image that is used to ask for playtesters, which could also hint at this being the very special project. But still, both Jonathan and I are not really sure that it's really that. Because why are you looking for people who like specifically played Odyssey instead of Valhalla, while this seems to be a free Valhalla update? Maybe to test if they like the Odyssey flavor that has been added to this update. It also seems that there are multiple playtests going to happen, which seems quite a lot for a free title update for Valhalla. So while it's totally possible that this is for the crossover event, I totally think it's something else. And we have to talk about Milisanti Mahut, who, as showcased before, was recording new lines, and then later she posted this. It's not just me, right? With an image of Randvi, who of course has the same haircut as Cassandra. And in this crossover event, they are actually trying to link Cassandra to Randvi somehow. So she's really hinting at her involvement in this Valhalla content. But another possibility is that Ubisoft Quebec is preparing more Odyssey DLC. With them enabling 60 FPS only for Odyssey, you could argue that they're preparing for more people to jump back in. Like, I would love a good reason to pick the game back up again, and I know a lot of people would as well. And with the next Assassin's Creed, codenamed Infinity, only just starting development, they maybe are looking at other ways to keep people engaged before that arrives in like 2024 maybe? Although I also think that this is unlikely, because it's really hard to keep people playing a single player game. We see that with the Valhalla updates. They launch a new update, we are like done in a few days, and then we're waiting for the next update to drop. So for Ubisoft to spread resources between both Odyssey content and Valhalla content, it's not really smart if they could just also put all the resources together and focus on one game. Like if they're reviving Odyssey, they would be competing against their own game, Valhalla. So while I would love to be wrong, I don't think new Odyssey DLC is in the cards. Jason Schreier on Bloomberg revealed the first information about Assassin's Creed Infinity, saying that in April, Ubisoft unified the Montreal and Quebec teams. Now they will collaborate on Infinity. Like, it's a fact that a big team at Ubisoft Quebec is on Assassin's Creed Infinity, so you could think that maybe they need playtesters already for that. Although again, they properly started in April, so I really think that they have nothing for people to test yet. They're still very, very early. Now, what I think it will be is actually pretty obvious. If you follow the channel for a while and are aware of Ubisoft's future plans in general, then you know that their next big focus is now on free-to-play games. Like, they won't abandon their big releases, but in a perfect world for them, they want to maybe launch 2 high-budget titles every 12 months and earn the rest of their money through microtransactions, which is a more sustainable business. Because then your income is not reliant on a specific month a big game releases. No, instead you get returning revenue every month as long as your games are doing well. We see a Division free-to-play title already next to X-Deviant being announced recently. Roller Champions still needs to come out, and I'm sure other big franchises will get a free-to-play title too, including Assassin's Creed. And it makes sense that Quebec, who really showcased that they know how to make an engaging post-launch plan with Odyssey and even with Immortals, is leading this effort. I said it before in a previous video, but Scott Phillips, who was game director on Immortals, AC Odyssey and Syndicate, is since July 2020 working on an unannounced project. So that's a year and 3 months now. What we do know is that he's not part of the Assassin's Creed Infinity team, and he also started way before Infinity went into development. And free-to-play games usually have a shorter development cycle because it can be risky to invest a ton of money without knowing if you will get it back. So that's why we usually also see a ton of reused assets in these free-to-play games, which of course way cheaper. And a lot of people who are jumping into the free-to-play game likely never played the paid product anyways. So I think they can have a build ready for people to test more than a year later if it's heavily based on Odyssey. I also think publicly asking for people to sign up for a playtest is something that is way more common for free-to-play games. It was one of the main reasons they announced X-Deviant so early, to get people to sign up and give them feedback, and why if you search Division Heartland you immediately get the sign up to playtest early page instead of information about the game. The free-to-play market is really crowded, so you have to bring your A game, and there will be a ton of people playing when it's launched, so you need an actual audience to check the game as well, and to also see if your monetization strategies are working, which of course the only way the game can sustain. So yes, I think we're getting a free-to-play Assassin's Creed game made by Quebec, inspired by Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Also, if you go to their test website, you see that they're asking about specific gaming information. For example, how many hours do you play your favorite genres, but also with whom do you typically play cooperative and multiplayer games, competitive games, and what type of additional game purchases do you make. And it's likely a list they always use, I would imagine, so I don't think it's like specific for this game, but I would not be surprised if this title has multiplayer, and I actually hope that this title has multiplayer. I will tell you why. Because I just don't want it in Assassin's Creed Infinity. I want Assassin's Creed Infinity to be a single player, narrative focused game, or at least, like, of course, that game might have multiple settings, but yeah, that we have that typical Assassin's Creed experience. And if they want to add multiplayer, which they of course did in the past, I'm sure they want to bring it back. Do that in a like free-to-play game. All the free-to-play games that Ubisoft is bringing out have multiplayer, by the way. That's interesting to note. But yeah, then you have 2 separate titles, right? One free-to-play multiplayer. That game is designed with multiplayer in mind. And Infinity will have the single-player stories. I mean, if you add multiplayer to that, it might like kind of ruin the whole single-player narrative. I'm of course curious to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. This of course is just my speculation. I think I'm onto something here. But yeah, it could be all of the other things I mentioned here as well. It might totally be that Valhalla Odyssey crossover. But again, I don't think they want to like really have a lot of testers for that and like through multiple sessions. But we will see. It also makes sense, I think, that they're doing more with Odyssey. Like, I stressed it multiple times. I really think it was the most successful Assassin's Creed game during the last generation. They really had a ton of new people join the franchise, which they wanted when they kind of rebooted the game with Origins. So, them doing more with that. Like, every other game studio would have made an Odyssey 2 because it was so successful. So, doing more with that world, I'm not sure. Yeah, I would imagine it's in ancient Greece, but yeah, I'm not sure. Like, doing more with that gameplay just makes a lot of sense instead of just moving on to the next game. Because, of course, like, Valhalla is another Assassin's Creed game, but it's completely different. If you played a lot of Valhalla, you know it's completely different. So again, curious to hear your take in the comments down below. You can, of course, also leave a question in the comments down below that I might answer in a future Sunday video. And previously, I got a question from Cole Harper asking, do you think we will get a Black Flag remaster in the upcoming years? And that's overall an interesting question. Like, why aren't Ubisoft remastering more of their older Assassin's Creed games? We of course had the Ezio collection that did an AC3 remaster. Maybe we get the Layla collection. I don't think they're ever gonna call it that, but with Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla at some point. I don't know, but I would love to see Origins and Odyssey at least get the next-gen treatment with all the bells and whistles, but maybe Ubisoft also sees that more as competition for Valhalla. I really think they want people to play one Assassin's Creed game and not have multiple running at the same time. And that's why I also think that a free-to-play, multiplayer-focused Assassin's Creed just makes a ton of sense. I mean, it's totally for a similar, but also a completely different audience. It's a completely different experience. So that's how I think it can, like, live alongside each other. And I would love to see a Black Flag remaster. Like, I would love to have them bring that game back, but I'm not sure if that's gonna happen. We've talked about it multiple times. If they're gonna bring something back, it's gonna be the first Assassin's Creed, and I really hope to do a proper remake, like we're now seeing with Prince of Persia, although we have to see how that's gonna shake out before we kind of wish for another remake. But they are taking the extra time, so we'll be curious. Should be launching in early 2022. We'll be back next week with another interesting topic here in the Sunday videos. And of course, I have a ton of other Valhalla content planned this week and some other cool stuff. So subscribe to miss nothing. A like on the video would of course really help me out. And check out my previous video on brand new weapon types coming to Valhalla, which you can watch by clicking on the screen. For now, I will speak to you next time, and goodbye.